right. Take it away, Kelly. Oh, you're still muted. Still muted, Kelly.
Sorry. The neck pain webinar is always near and dear to me because that's how I started my journey with Egoscue. I was a personal trainer way back in the early 2000s, almost 20 years ago. And actually more than 20 years ago, I have to admit that now. I'm going to stick at 20 though. That's how I started my journey with Egoscue. I had a skiing injury where I landed on my chin instead of my skis. And I went from being very active as a childhood athlete, as a gymnast, a competitive gymnast for 13 years of my life. And then I went very inactive and then went into studying, pre-veterinary in college, so pre-med basically. And then I ended up with like really bad chronic neck pain into my early 20s. I became a personal trainer along the way and met who is my husband, Martin, the owner of the Egoscue Portland Clinic. And he introduced me to the Egoscue method and gave me specific exercises for my posture, took my posture photos. And the moment I looked at my posture photos, I was like, oh, wow. The light bulb went on and I could see exactly why I had pain. My shoulders were rounded forward. My head was out of position. My knees were twisted. My feet pointed in all kinds of directions. And I started doing posture exercises immediately and consistently. And I've been pain-free from neck pain for 20 plus years. So, I'm here still in this profession because I believe in the power that the exercises give you for a lifetime. They're really a skill that, you just can't live without. And they've kept me functional and active and doing whatever I want to do for the last 20 years. So I'm grateful to be here to share that with you today, especially with this topic, because it's definitely how I started my journey. All right, Zach, your turn.
Thanks, Kelly. I'm Zach from the Seattle clinic. I've been here about 7 years, and I actually started my Egoscue career, I guess, with Martin and Kelly down in Portland. So I worked there for a little while. That was my first job out of grad school. So I have kind of a similar background. I studied exercise sciences. I went on and actually got my master's in that. I was also doing some personal training on the side, and that's kind of how I learned about it, was from one of my professors. And, he was a big golfer and had scoliosis and had chronic back pain until he started doing Egoscue, and it was totally changed his life. And so he was a big proponent of it. And when I first learned about it, I immediately liked the idea of this, just the fact that it's correcting our body's alignment and posture through exercises, something you can do for yourself was appealing. And also I just liked that it was a natural approach to overcoming pain. And so, of course, being in my early 20s, I thought, oh, this is great, but it's only for old people, right? Like, this doesn't apply to me, right? I'm perfect. My body is fine. I'm invincible. Well, I started playing a lot of racquetball, and that's when the dysfunctions in my body started showing up. So I started having back pain and shoulder pain, and so I was like, this isn't good, and so maybe I should give this Egoscue thing a shot. And so, like Kelly, I got my posture assessed, and it was clear that I was out of balance and my posture was less than optimal. So started doing the exercises and immediately felt improvements, and kept me playing racquetball, which is what I wanted. So that was kind of what sold it for me. And so it's something I then pursued, as a career, wanting to help other people achieve the same, pain-free lifestyle, active lifestyle. And so here I am. I don't play racquetball as much anymore, but I've taken on pickleball, as I'm sure many of you have. But that's my latest addiction, I guess. But anyway, we're going to talk about Egoscue and specifically how it relates to neck pain. I know some of you commented about neck issues that you have. So hopefully this will be helpful. But even if you don't have neck pain, I mean, the whole body's connected. So it's the same, the way we treat necks is the same way we treat your feet. We're going after the posture, mobility, the alignment, the balance, all that stuff. So, um, pain, the way we look at it is maybe a little different than a lot of Western medicine, at least. And that is, pain is simply a signal. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's damage. I mean, there could be, but a lot of times, most of the time with a chronic pain, at least, um, it's simply your body's way of telling you that something's not working the way it should, in a simple sense. Just like the check engine light on your car comes on as a warning, your car still may be driving just fine. Sometimes those lights come on, you're like, wait, everything seems fine. Why is this on? So instead of ignoring it or covering it up, right, we want to investigate, figure out, get it scanned, figure out why the light came on and fix the true cause, right? Makes sense. And it's the same for our body. When we have pain, we need to investigate and see, okay, well, why am I hurting? And what's my body trying to tell me? And so pain is just one way, but we look at posture, as we'll talk about in a minute, as another clue, I guess. But just want to start taking our mind off of, because most of you go to the doctor and things, and they're very good at diagnosing things and telling you what's going on, or oh, you've got degenerative disc, or oh, you've got a whatever. You've neck pain is a little more elusive, I guess. Tension in your neck muscles, right? Well, sometimes that you don't always find out the why. Well, what caused that? Why is this muscle always tight? Why is it on the left side of my neck and not the right? Why is that disc bulging and not the other ones? So that's hopefully what you'll get out of today. And a lot of people like to blame their pain on their age or their genetics, or sitting, their job. Oh, I sit a lot on a computer. So, and these things may contribute, but ultimately, they're not really the cause, and you can't necessarily change them. I mean, you can change your job, but sitting's not going to go anywhere. I think we have to accept that fact. We can try to avoid it as much as we can, but get fancy chairs and things, but ultimately it's the body that you're bringing to that chair or the desk or the standing desk even is more important. So if we go into it with a proper alignment, our bodies can withstand, the stresses of day-to-day life if we're in the right position. So that's what we want to focus on, and that's what we can change. So just like this house, obviously it's not looking too good there. Looks like it's about to fall over, and maybe sometimes you look in the mirror and can relate to this. But our bodies are, in a sense, the same way, right? We've got, instead of different, levels and walls, we have load-bearing joints supporting our upright structure. And if they're not lined up straight, then it's, we may still be able to stand and get around, but it's not going to be as easy. And eventually things are going to start to hurt and eventually break, So we need to get things lined up the way they're supposed to if we want to be stable and feel good. So when we talk about posture, we're not just talking about, chin back, shoulders back, standing up straight. It's really a relationship of all those joints and how they support each other. So from your feet all the way up to your head, there's a proper posture for each of those joints. And when we have less than ideal or poor posture, then it puts more stress on everything. We talk mostly about, the major joints and muscles and those areas where most people have pain, but posture can also affect other parts of your body too. We don't talk about that as much, but especially when we start looking at some neck posture issues, you can start to think about, well, how does that affect my breathing? Or, think about your head position and headaches, vertigo, things like that are affected.
EMJ. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, jaw, right? So so good posture is simply a state of balance. We'll show some examples of what we mean by that. But, it's just, we look at posture because it's a simple way to assess At rest, standing is an easy way to measure it, but you know, it implies that if all your muscles are working the way they should, if you have good posture, you're going to be able to, have good posture when you squat or when you bend over, or when you're sitting. Those are all just different positions, but ultimately our bodies are designed to move, and we're very capable of doing all kinds of movements, as we can see with sports and different physical activities that we do. But if you think back to when you were younger and childhood, especially, I'm sure most of us were more active than we are now. And it's just, unfortunately, with modern lifestyles, we start to sit in school, and then we start to probably sit at our jobs, in our cars for our entertainment, right? So we're just not moving as much as we need to. We may try to counteract that with going to the gym a few days a week for an hour or something, but that's really not enough for our bodies to really thrive. Um, as children, we're constantly moving, right? Anybody who has kids or grandkids knows knows that. Um, and so, really, the Egoscue is just trying to restore our body's innate ability to move, right? And get all those muscles and joints, doing more of what they're supposed to again, so that we can move and be active without hurting ourselves. That's, in this basic sense, what we're all about. So, eliminating pain, again, these are some typical options that people use to address their pain. It's easy to just pop a pill, right, and numb the pain, but it's kind of like just putting some duct tape over your check engine light so you don't see it. It's still there. You're just masking it. So sometimes you need to do that if in severe cases, and when it start interfering with your life. But as long as it's not something you rely on, same with the surgery. A lot of times we see people getting surgeries on their necks or their spines or really anywhere, and because they saw some damage there, and they thought fixing it would reduce the pain, and sometimes it does, but a lot of times it's only a temporary fix because you didn't change the posture. So you still think of that crooked house, until you straighten things out, or without really, changing the foundation and straightening out those walls, it's still going to be compromised, even if you replace a little piece that was broken, right? So, resting on vacation is nice, and that stress can play a huge part in our pain, but can't just ignore it forever. Ultimately, we have to get back to our lives, and then the poor guy on the bottom right there, giving up his sport or sitting on the bench. I could have done that with racquetball, right? I only hurt when I played racquetball, so I could have logically said, well, racquetball hurts me, so I'm just not going to play. But then, I'm sure if I didn't fix the true cause, eventually it would start hurting doing something else, and then I'd have to give that up. And many of you can probably relate to this, where you've given up different things over your life until eventually you feel like it's really not a whole lot I can do, right? So rather than doing that, why don't we fix the cause, so you can do all those things and enjoy your life and not just have a bunch of limitations. So that's our goal with what we're helping people with. Any questions so far? All right. Well, Kelly's.
Don't be afraid. Raise your hand if you have a question, or feel free to unmute yourself or use that chat.
Okay, well, Kelly's going to talk to us now about what we look for with posture, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, see a lot of familiar faces today. So several people on here have been through posture evaluations with us at our clinics or online on Zoom therapy. And first thing that we do when we have people come in is do a full posture assessment, and taking posture photos is part of that. And it's a snapshot in time of basically everything your body's done up until this point in time. So everything you've taken in from your environment, because you're a stimulus response organism. So you're taking in stimulus 24/7 into your body. So your lifestyle, your habits, your activity levels, your accidents, your injuries, birth effects, everything that you've taken in from your environment from day one adds up to the posture that your body is carrying around right here, right now. And so, when we look at this photo, this is out of a textbook, Balanced Posture for Front View. Hopefully we can all be in agreement that muscles move bones. Obviously, if we didn't have any muscles, this skeleton here on the left would just fall to the ground, right? The muscles tell the bones what to do. The nerves are, innervate the muscle. And so when we have nerve pain, yes, we can treat the nerves, but ultimately the muscles, the nerves innervate the muscles. And so we've got to get our muscular skeletal system in alignment and balanced in this way in order for our nerve pain to be impacted long term. I've never met anyone who looks like this. We live in an environment today due to technology and lifestyle that makes us very sedentary. So I've never met a perfect posture person. But if I do, I will let you know. Because we don't live in a bubble, right? We can't live in a bubble. Everybody's going to have imbalances and muscle compensations, where shoulders maybe aren't level, over the level pelvis, over the knees that point straight ahead, over the feet that point straight ahead, with arms that drop right at your side so that all you see from the front view is the thumb and the side of the pointer finger, right? That midline is just a way to say, okay, we have a mirror image. Our body is a mirror image from right to left. And I always love to give this analogy, so I'll give you this really cool analogy that I give to my clients is that, but it helps really make sense of what we mean by posture and how it translates into function. Okay, so the difference between my right and my left hand is that my right hand muscles are short and tight. And I have very little function with my right hand versus my left hand. My left hand, the muscles are in alignment. I have function, my bones can move, and I have full function of my left hand. My right hand, all I can do is pound things like a hammer, okay? Your body is divided the same way. You have the same muscles on the right side of the body as the left. And if you have muscles in your body that are different lengths and tensions in relationship to their mirror image on the other side, right? Those bones on that side of the body are going to be shorter or in a different position, and the function is going to be different from one side of the body to the other, just based on the length and tension of the muscles attached to those bones, right versus left. And that's how you can kind of start to understand, well, how come my right side does something different than my left? It looks different in my posture photos. It does something different. It feels different. And so when we take those posture photos, we get to start to see, okay, well, what muscles and bones are out of alignment, right side versus left side, front versus back, right? Because we're looking for symmetry, we're looking for balance, we're looking for, what do we need to change in the posture totally from head to toe in order to make an impact on the system as a whole and create an environment where, hey, now, ear, shoulder, hip, knee, and ankle are all in more alignment with each other. All the muscles, ligaments, tendons, bones, nerves can all start communicating and working more efficiently and effectively together as a unit from head to toe. Because we want to have that nice S curve, right, in our spine. Most people have, a compromised lumbar curve and pelvic position, and then they have a very rounded forward position. I've never seen anyone in 20 years come in with their shoulders behind their head and their arms behind their back. It just never happens. Everyone comes in with shoulders rounded forward and then all of their fingers in the front view, which we'll see some examples of that coming up. But this in particular, the side view is really great to help start talking about that neck pain. So like when I had my photos taken and I compared to this picture, my pelvis was tipped forward. So I had a really big arch in my low back. My upper body was rounded forward in front of that black line. And then my head stuck out in front of that black line. And oh my gosh, just hanging out over that gravity line, that 6 to 8 pound head caused so much strain and tension and pain, right? If I would have done nothing about it in my early 20s, I could have had degenerative degenerative discs, herniations, nerve pain in my neck, what they call like a straight neck or tech neck, right? If I would have just kept fast forwarding with that, especially with the level of demand that I, working out, skiing, hiking, all the things that I do. So, yeah, I chose to switch things, right? And so we did the side view. We'll look at some front view examples of, well, wow, could you imagine what neck pain would be if you had these two postures, right? And maybe that you identify when you see some of these pictures. Wow, when I look in the mirror with my shirt off or a tank top on or my bra, whatever it is, you're looking in the mirror in the shower, getting dressed, and one shoulder is higher than the other. So again, it's that difference between right hand versus left hand, right? Those ligaments and muscles and tendons are shorter and tighter. The spine in the middle is having to compromise and having to work really hard all day to get you through all the things that you're doing throughout your day, your activity levels and your habits and your lifestyle. So you expend a lot of energy when you're working in misalignment, like these two photos and these two folks, right? Versus in alignment, your body can utilize your energy more efficiently, and you're in less pain and you're less tired, right? At the end of the day, sure, a lot of times people with head and neck pain, I hear it a lot that, oh, by the end of the day, I'm just so tired. I have to lay down. I have to rest. I have to just put my head down, right? Or the headaches or the TMJ or the pain, it escalates as the day goes on. Well, of course it would, because the more you do, if you're in these positions with the shoulder higher or rounding, by the end of your day, you have strengthened and strengthened and strengthened more and more into those compensating positions with the rounded shoulders forward and the elevated shoulder, that now you're at the tipping point where the body goes, I cannot hold this position any longer doing exactly what you want me to do. I've had enough. You've got to give me a break. You've got to, that's your check engine light going, please help, do something more permanently to fix my issue, to correct my posture. Your body's only way of talking to you is through, unfortunately, pain or sensation. So it's really about interpreting that sensation or pain and really taking a look at your physical markers, meaning your posture, how you move in space. What are your biomechanics? How do you walk? How do you move? How do you get up and down off the floor? What things are limiting to you, right? Those give us the biggest clues into, okay, well, what muscle imbalances do you have and what needs to be shifted? So, yeah, these are pretty common actually in day-to-day, life. I see these postures just going to the grocery store. And it's interesting to always think about, okay, well, what kind of profession or what do you think these people did for a living, right? Or habits did they have in their life that could have created these positions, right?
The thing, Kelly, I wanted to point out was when we're talking about neck pain, it's easy to focus, or really with any pain, it's easy to focus on where it hurts, right? So we just look at the neck for clues, which is a good starting point. But then, especially with the neck, you have to look below it, right? So this is where, if we go back to like the elevated shoulder and hip, so you'll notice these lines helps us see is his right, so our left side hip is up higher than his other one, and so that the whole spine's connected, right? So that you elevate the bottom of it and it's going to react. So the spine, you can see he's kind of off to the one side, but then by the time it gets to his head, he's centered again, but then his opposite shoulder is up higher. So it's kind of this balancing act your body does. But Kelly talked about the strain that puts on the neck. The muscles are tighter on one side than the other. But if we want to fix that, we have to actually address usually the pelvis, right? Or even below that, there could be something going on with his ankles too. But that's why we have to take this whole body approach. And that's where a lot of times people fall short when they're trying to treat neck pain with traditional neck exercises, but they're missing like the whole everything below that, which is actually the true cause. Their pelvis is out of alignment. The same with the side view, that sway back. So you can see her head's forward, yes, but what else is forward? Her entire pelvic girdle, right? Her hips are kind of pushed forward. So now her back is all, she's in that sway back. So again, without changing that hip position, we're not going to get a change in the neck until the stuff below it changes. So just wanted to point that out there. And so when you're wondering about what's causing your neck pain, make sure you're looking at the whole body, because it's most likely coming from somewhere below your neck too. So
there's very few neck exercises in the world. There's neck stretches, maybe there's neck, I hear of random things here and there, but the head neck position is absolutely 100% dependent on the shoulder position, the hip position, the knee position, and the foot position. So without those joints being in alignment, the head can't be balanced. It doesn't know where to stay in space without, responding to the rest of the body. Yeah. Okay, now this is kind of where you guys get to start becoming the posture therapist, right? So our goal as Egoscue therapists is to help you become the best expert in your body and your posture in your situation. And we do that by, okay, imagine this is your posture photos, and we put them up here on the camera or on the computer for you to look at your appointment. And you're looking at your photos and, okay, well, what do you see? What do we see? Go ahead and unmute yourself or put it in the chat.
Head forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ouch. Anybody else? Right hip
Rounded
elevated,
shoulders.
off center. What was that?
Rounded shoulders.
Yes. And Joe wrote in the chat, right hip elevated, head is off center. Mm-hmm.
hands forward. So yeah, we can see that from the side or from the front. An easy way to judge shoulder position is look at the hands. So from the front view, remember the hand should rest at your side. So we only see the thumb and first finger. We don't want to see the backs of your hands, the knuckles from the front. So we can see some of his knuckles there from the front. So indicating shoulders.
Yeah, his hands are kind of in two different positions, which indicates his shoulders are in two different positions. And then when you look up at his shoulders, you can see that that right one is lower. Look at his collarbone, the difference in his collarbone position on right versus left. Even his chest, his pec muscles are kind of different. Yeah, belly forward. Yeah. And a lot of times the way that your adipose tissue or your fat lays on your body is dependent on your posture. So if he's forward of the gravity line and his pelvis, you can see his pelvis is tipped forward and he has an angle like this going forward in the gravity line, then it's going to cause his belly to hang out over his belt line and, stick out. But if his pelvis was neutral and then his shoulders were back, right? His shoulders are caving forward and squishing his torso. So it's making him have kind of a pooched belly, and then the pelvis is rolled forward, so it's pushing it out. If we change the posture, he's going to look totally different in clothes, in photos.
Yeah, so can we start to see why he might have neck pain looking at this picture, right? Like said, first thing, head's way forward. Remember, his ear should be on that line, and his head's barely on it, let alone his ear. So that's definitely.
When he has a very straight neck, if we look at the curve of his spine, your curve in your cervical spine, your neck spine, and versus your lumbar spine, your low back spine, should be the same degree of curve, and his is very not even close. It is very arched here. You can't see it because his elbow's covering it. And then this is very straight, and this is super rounded forward in kyphosis. So
yeah, so he's got a couple things going against him: the head being forward, but then also, the shoulder's not level, pelvis not level. He's not centered. He's kind of putting more weight on his left side, it looks like. So you can think of all the how that affects him all the way up to his neck, right? All right, well, there he is a few months later. What do we see different now besides the shirt?
In shorts. Yeah, his neck is better.
Yeah, look at that curve. It's a lot better in relationship to the rest of his spine. Yeah.
We still look, how's the front view, the symmetry right to left? How's that doing?
Did the hand position change and the shoulder position change?
Yep, all of it looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. The only thing he still needs to work on is his lower legs, his rotation in his legs. You can see how he's kind of bow-legged, but it's actually more balanced for the body to have right and left side in the same position versus one side going in one direction and the other side going in the other. Like if he had one knee forward and one knee out, or one knee in and one knee out, that's rare, but it does happen. You know, or one's really caving in and the other one is caving in, but just not as much. You know, if there's a really big disparity or imbalance, one side versus the other, the body just reacts. But when they're pretty balanced like this, the body goes, oh, hey, I can work with this. This is minimal compared to the other photos, where you can see how all the compensations from the first photos, the before photos, how much energy and how hard it would be to play pickleball with that posture, or to go to the gym and lift weights and work out, right? If you took that first picture, Zach, if you go back one, if you took that posture to the gym or to work, or, you know, let's say I ride bikes on the weekend, I'm going to go do a 20-40 mile ride on the weekend warrior style working out, right? You are absolutely going to be in pain come Sunday, Monday, and have to recover X amount of days the week in this posture position. But if you're doing your same activity levels, doing your job, going to work, sitting, standing, you know, doing your normal day-to-day business, and then you're doing these posture exercises on a daily basis, on a consistent basis, and you're shifting your posture into this new position, and then you're taking this posture to the events that are your normal daily life, you can see how much better you're going to feel, and how you know, stronger, straighter, balanced, how much more endurance you're going to have. I always call it like positive posture endurance, because how long can you hold this posture before you start compensating, right? You've got to build straightened position and then strengthen that position into that to match the habits that you have in your life. And at any point in your life, if you have too much demand you're putting on your body and you don't have enough alignment, they're not balanced, you're going to have pain. So it's just the indicator that you're putting too much demand, you need more alignment, step up the alignment, get your exercises going, get them online again, and then go forward from there.
Janet has a question.
Great.
Looking at this picture with the maroon shirt, would it help at all for him to be rotating his arm from the shoulder a little bit, so that like you don't see as much of the back of the hand in the forward view? Is that a place where you can start, or does it need to start somewhere deeper in?
Yeah, so he's still, you're probably noticing his left arm, especially a little bit rounded. So yeah, it's mostly coming from the shoulder. Although there can be, you know, like sometimes people will pronate their wrist, like just rotating from the elbow down too, but usually it's a shoulder issue. So yeah, I mean, so he's not perfect yet, you know, but but yeah, you're right. He still needs to improve that, especially that left shoulder position. And these are not, you know, this posture, when we take the photos, we try to get people to just relax, because obviously we could fake it. Like you could pull your shoulders back, you can look down and straighten out your feet, you know, and that's a good idea, but it's not sustainable, right? Like you shouldn't have to think about your posture all the time. You can't think about your posture all the time. So it's subconscious, because it's just a function of how, like Kelly said, how your muscles have been trained to work. So when you're at rest, not thinking about it, your hand should rest there. So yeah, I mean, sometimes I tell people it's okay if you catch yourself like slumping over, or your feet turning out, or your shoulders rounded, like to correct it consciously. There's nothing wrong with that. But ultimately, you just have to put in the time and the repetition of doing the exercises to change those muscles. So even when you're not thinking about it, they're in a better position. If that makes sense.
Yeah, a lot of my clients, they'll come in and I observe them sitting in their chair in front of me during the appointment. And the way that they sit is also a byproduct of the compensation, the muscle imbalances in their body. And so we'll start, and they'll complain about, I hurt when I sit. I don't feel good when I sit. I sit like this. I'm slouching. I'm this, I'm that. And then as we start doing the exercises and go along, they say, oh, it doesn't feel good to sit like that anymore. I can't do that anymore. It feels awful. Now I have to sit like this. Look, is this okay? And I'm like, yeah, so much better. The body just corrects itself subconsciously through doing the exercises over time. And then you just start doing all the things in your day-to-day activities differently, more efficiently, more effectively, more balanced, more aligned. The good thing about Egoscue is that it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So if you start doing the exercises and you start feeling better and then you stop doing them, your body's going to crave them like chocolate or anything else that you really love that you do in moderation. Except for we don't say do Egoscue in moderation. We say listen to your body. Suffering's optional. Like give Egoscue to your body anytime that you need it. If you're thirsty, you get a drink. If you're hungry, you eat. If you're in pain, give it some Egoscue. Don't wait, right? Now, this is a pretty typical example of our teen situation right now. Tech, gaming galore, right? And unfortunately, our young adults are having much more severe issues at a younger age than our senior population. So a lot of our seniors or people 50 and over are more functional and stronger and in better alignment than our youth. It's sad to say. But Zach, I think this was one of your clients up in Seattle, right?
Yeah, so he was like 16 or 17 at the time, I think. And yeah, you can see the before photos on the top with the white, and yeah, he was, I think, studying. He was still in high school, but also doing some kind of like programming, like computer programming training. So he wanted to do that as a profession. And so you think like, so he's in school sitting, he's learning like as a job, sitting, working on a computer. And then for fun, he sits on a computer. So it's like he's spending the majority of his life sitting. And so you can see how his body is just taking that shape, right? It kind of looks like he's half sitting when he's standing still, right? So on the bottom, he's obviously much improved. He's not perfect yet, but it was relatively short amount of time. That's the good news is the younger you start, typically you can see changes really quick because your body has had less time, right? You don't have years and years of muscle compensation to overcome. You've got, less than that, and your body, responds quicker when you're younger typically. But so yeah, it can start at any age. Like Kelly said, unfortunately, we're seeing a lot more teenagers with chronic pain already now, but that would be like unheard of, 20 years ago. But
yeah,
as a even younger kid with some scoliosis, again, sooner you can catch it, the better. But we work with a lot of adults with scoliosis too, and the goal isn't necessarily
very common.
Yeah, the goal isn't to reverse the curve or change that scoliosis but it's more about we can change the shoulder position, the hip position, your knees, your ankles, and you can live with scoliosis without having any pain, right? There's plenty of testaments to that. So
my husband's a great testimonial for scoliosis and Egoscue.
Yeah,
he's he just got, what is it, second place in the men's digital BMX USA BMX competition. It's a national digital competition. And at 54, he got second place in the nation. And his posture's not perfect. He still has scoliosis to a slight degree compared to his extreme scoliosis that I met him with. And he used to have a lot of pain, has been doing Egoscue since 99 and has no pain and does his exercises every day routinely, and is still, you know, competing BMX at 54, gonna be 55. So, hey, never say never. You're not too old. There's always hope. And, you know, if you're willing to put in the time and do the exercises and learn about your body and become more of an expert in your own body, anything is possible. I've seen it time and time again. Now, this poor lady, she is a client from one of our sister clinics in Japan, and she worked in the rice fields. And so you can imagine that's how she ended up with this posture, right? Being bent over for most of her life. And I love this picture because it really can show you about how the systems of the body can be affected by our posture. Imagine what digestion is like for her body. Her respiratory system, like breathing, being able to expand her lungs and use her diaphragm, right? And then circulation, what about her heart? You know, your genital, like her urinary tract, you know, like all the things. I mean, yes, her joints, yes, we can look at her muscular system here and be thinking to ourselves, oh, wow, this is the person we would rush over to in public and help them, you know, pick something up or open the door for them or, you know, help them out. But even further, if we take it another step, is, you know, all the systems in the body and how they're affected. And then you look at that bottom picture and you think, wow, she must feel so much better. She must be getting around a lot easier, feeling freer, more mobile, more range of motion, more balance. I mean, in that upper picture, her balance is non-existent. If she were even to get slightly bumped in a crowd, down she would go, break a hip, into a wheelchair, nursing home, you know, down we go, and fall after fall. So, you know, you have to look at it from a total body standpoint, and really see the changes that can happen in the body just by changing the posture. The muscles move the organs and as well.
Yeah, just a last example here, just showing again, doesn't really matter your age, you can change at any point, and posture, you know, issues can affect everybody, you know. Even this guy on the left, young, really fit guy, was out of balance, you know. Look at how far forward his head is and that angle of his neck. It's almost like he's tipping his head back just to see the horizon, because he's so rounded in his upper back and neck. And then the lady on the right, you know, older but still really physically active. She hiked and took wildlife photography, and her pain was starting to interfere with that, and so that's why she started Egoscue. And you can see the improvements she made and how much better she looks, and she feels better as a result. So
she looks a lot younger there too.
All right, yeah, good, nice, much better curve in her whole spine, right?
Yeah, she definitely, it's like she had plastic surgery, but she didn't. I always love to point that out too, because she got, you know, a chest lift, a tummy tuck. She now has a bum that sticks out, right? Before she was all tucked under and didn't even look like she had a derriere, right? Shoulders are back and down. Her chest is held high. Her head is held high. I mean, wow. I mean, the difference in meeting one person versus the other in you know, it's huge.
A good point. And doing Egoscue is actually quite a bit cheaper than doing all those procedures.
Yeah, a lot cheaper and a lot less invasive. It only requires time and some money, but it lasts for a lifetime for sure.
I had a question in the chat about pillows and how that affects neck, and yeah, that's a great question. We talk about, if you want to, we did a YouTube video all about like sleeping in particular, so I'll maybe just refer you to that on YouTube if you just search on my channel, Egoscue of Seattle, search for the one. It was in the last year, but Egoscue was sleeping. I don't remember exactly what it's called, but you should see it.
Let me try to find the link and I can put it up there too.
Great. Yeah, but basically, I mean, yeah, your pillow can affect your head position, of course, when you're sleeping. We won't go into a ton of detail, but basically, try to use as little of a pillow as you can if you're on your back, just to prevent your head from being pushed forward. If you're on your side, you might need a little more of a pillow just to keep your, if you know you're laying. Pretend I'm laying here and this is my bed. You know, you need to fill up that gap between, you know, the bed and your head, so you don't want too little or too big and have your neck like this all night. So it's really, there's no like perfect pillow for everybody. It's just a matter of finding what works for you and your body size and how firm your bed is. It's going to impact everybody. Officially, my name is Zach Viers, and I'm the clinic owner and therapist here in Seattle. I just muted you, Kelly. Okay, I was hearing the video. So yeah, but go watch that video. Kelly's gonna send it in the chat, I think. So great question. But we're running out of time here. We still got to show you guys some exercises. Just as a caveat, these are not meant to be specific to any person or even pain necessarily. We tried to pick some generic ones that are probably safe for most people to do and should help with your typical posture issues that we talked about that will cause neck pain. So we'll give these an example for you to try, but just know that, you know, nothing's going to substitute getting in a, you know, one-on-one assessment and getting some exercises that are customized to your body. But just keep that in mind. If anything hurts, you know, let us know, stop, and we can give you some modifications. So you don't want to do this if it's causing you any more pain. Okay. So before we do any exercise, we're going to do a little self-assessment here. So we can't take everyone's photos, but the next best thing is to do a little weight distribution test. So if you want to stand up and take your shoes off if you're wearing any, socks are okay, and just kind of march in place a few times, kind of shake things out, get the wiggles out, and then go ahead and just stand, relax. Again, we're trying not to pose. Don't try to fake it here, but just put your feet where they feel natural. Let your arms relax. Take a deep breath in, and even if you want to close your eyes for a second to help you focus, you're just going to draw your attention to the bottoms of your feet and notice where you feel the pressure. And one, you know, is it moving around or is it kind of staying the same? And where do you feel that pressure? Is it same on your right foot as your left foot? Maybe it's heavier on one side. Maybe you feel like you're more on the front of your foot, or you might feel like you're back on your heels. You may feel something different on the right compared to your left. So there's no right or wrong answers here. We're just looking for clues. So who'd care to share real quick what they're feeling right now in their feet as they stand there? Anybody feel something different side to side? Yeah, Blair?
Yeah, I definitely left dominant and started on my front left, moved to my back left, and then my right heel to some degree, but unquestionably more on my left.
Okay, great. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, so you can start to think, okay, well, why would I be feeling that? You know, go back to the posture and maybe that first example we showed, how that guy was kind of leaning to his left, and maybe something similar is happening with you, right? So anybody feel like they're more on the front of their foot or more on their heels?
Heels.
Heels, okay. So ideally, right, if our bodies were stacked up the way they're supposed to, we would feel just symmetrical. So we'd feel the same thing on the right and the left side. And that should be pretty much even from the ball of the foot and the heel. So 50-50 front to back, if you want to put numbers to it. But that's kind of the ideal position if everything is balanced. So again, we're not trying to force anything or change it right now. Just kind of notice, okay, that's different. And we're going to do some exercises. We'll check it again at the end, and you should hopefully feel some change. So let me turn off my screen share so you can see me better. Okay. So for these exercises, first thing we're going to do, we just need a wall. So our closed door could also work, but
Let me pin myself to the. Okay. You guys can see me, okay? All right, so you're gonna stand up against a wall and try this angle. Okay. So, well, can't get my whole body in the screen, but we'll put your feet up against the wall or as close to it as you can, ideally touching. You'll notice my feet are pointed straight ahead. There's about maybe 4 to 6 inches between the balls of my feet. And the center of my feet are pointed straight. So I'm not looking at, not looking at this. I'm looking at the center of my foot. So kind of the second and third toes. That, so it might feel and maybe even look a little pigeon-toed from what you're used to. But that's anatomically straight from the ankle and foot. So let you see my upper half now. So feet are straight. So now my heels, my butt, my upper back is touching the wall. There's naturally a gap here, right, because of our S curve. And then if you're comfortable with it, you can touch your head to the wall. Now, especially if you're dealing with neck pain, that may not be possible right away. So just get your head as straight as you can. But ultimately, your head should touch that wall. If you think about the side view posture, now our head is over the shoulders, over the hips, and down to the feet. And then you're just going to relax your arms, take some deep breaths with your belly, not your shoulders, but breathe with your stomach. And just hold that. And yeah, hold it for a minute or two. Let me just check in, see how everybody's doing. Any questions about this? Looks like you got it figured out. Relax your shoulders. Don't try to force them back to the wall. Just kind of let your arms relax. And looking good. Does anybody feel like it's kind of hard to get their head to the wall? Might notice you can also use the wall as another assessment tool to see how symmetrical your body is, right? So, notice both your shoulders. Do they feel the same, or do you feel like maybe there's more pressure on the wall with one of them? Same with your hips, your glutes. Does your right glute and your left glute touch the wall the same way, or are they different? Those could all be signs of imbalance, or maybe your body's twisted slightly or higher on one side, So you can just hold that for really as long as you want. We're just going to do a minute or two. And then the next thing we'll do, we're just going to have a seat in the chair. So you need a chair. And then if you have like a small throw pillow, maybe off your couch or off your bed, if you want to grab that real quick.
You can even take a bed pillow and just fold it in half and put it between your knees. And then that's going to give you a little bit of resistance when you go to squeeze that pillow. Yeah, so you take the bed pillow, fold it in half, and then put it between your feet or your knees.
So again, we're going to start at the feet, just like when we were standing. Feet are doing the same thing when we're sitting. So pointed straight ahead, ankle right under the knee. So this is kind of a right angle there. You'll just hold the pillow or the block. Yoga blocks work too. And now if I'm sitting just fully relaxed and slouched, right, like that, then you can see how my spine's all rounded, of course, kind of like a C shape. So to create that S curve, we have to start at the hips. Think about, try to move my arms so they're out of the way. You want to roll the pelvis forward. So it's just like a little pelvic tilt. The front of your pelvis is getting pulled down and your tailbone is kind of sticking out. So you're not lifting from up here. You're not just sticking your chest out. Okay, so just practice that, roll forward. And so that should naturally kind of straighten out your back, right? So now my ears over my shoulders, over my hips better. So from that position, we're just going to sit like that. Keep a little bit of pressure on this to engage the muscles in your inner thighs. And then the feet are going to go up on your up on your heels and then up on your toes. You just kind of rock back and forth like this, like a rocking chair.
Just slow and controlled. Still breathing with your belly, so don't hold your gut in or try to brace your core, you know, just let your stomach relax. Just kind of go up and down like this. So you're going to feel the work kind of in your lower leg muscles, your calves, your shins, but you also feel the work in your hips, maybe a little bit in your lower back. So there's a lot of muscles involved here to kind of sit up like this, and we're kind of working on the lower half of your body now. Because like I said, most of the time the neck position is compromised because of something going on below it, right? So you can do this for, you know, 3 sets of 10 or up to 3 sets of 20, but enough to feel like, you know, your hips and leg muscles have worked out a little bit. Okay, we're just gonna call that good for now. And then the last thing we'll do, you can just stay in the same position, keep the pillow there, your arms resting at your sides, and this isn't the best chair for this one, but so same, you know, tilt in the pelvis. Now we're gonna focus on the shoulder blades. So I'm just gonna keep my arms at my side, but pull my shoulder blades back and down. So not back and up, I'm not shrugging, doing the opposite of a shrug. I'm kind of pulling them down towards my butt, and then relax, squeeze and relax. So you should feel the work kind of between your shoulder blades back there as they pull back, relax. Just squeeze it for about 1 second at a time, you know, 1 second on, 1 second off kind of tempo. Do that again, maybe 3 sets of 10. Looking good.
I always like to think I have like a little rubber ball between my shoulder blades, and I'm gonna squeeze the rubber ball, then drop it, like bounce it, catch it, bounce it, catch it. Or like I'm gonna put my shoulder blades into my back pocket, so they're gonna go together and down into my pockets.
Yeah, that's a good way to think of it.
And one thing you really have to make sure when you're working your shoulder blades is that you keep your sternum neutral. You don't want to tip your sternum up towards the ceiling. You want to keep it neutral. It should just go forward a little bit and back. Forward, straight, up and down and forward, but not tip up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so pretend that was the 3 sets of 10. And then, so let's go ahead and stand up now, shake it off, and let's do a little reassessment of our weight distribution. Okay, so again, just stand in place, relax, close your eyes if you want. Check in with your feet and notice what feels different now. So I know for me personally, before when I stood here, I was feeling like my left ankle was more collapsed, and as a result, there was more pressure kind of on the inside edge of the left foot, not so much on the right. And right now, after just doing not even a full set of those exercises, I feel like both my feet are pretty much the same, like not perfect, but much less of that collapsing on my right side. So who else feels something different? Blair, I'm curious how you feel now after that.
Yeah, much more even. It was an automatic, you know, I could feel it immediately. Balanced. My right foot felt same.
Nice.
Pretty quick change.
Yeah, that's great. Anybody else?
I feel better too.
Oh, nice.
More even.
Even, great. So, and again, relating that back to, well, what changed, right? We just did a few simple exercises. So why do my feet feel different? And again, it's just because, you know, all those joints from your head all the way down to your feet are now stacked up a little better. If we were to take pictures of you, you know, before and after those exercises, you would probably see an improvement as well. So, but you can always feel it. So I like to encourage people to check their weight distribution, you know, before they do their exercises and after, so that you can feel, oh yeah, my posture is actually better, and hopefully as a result your pain is better, right? So all right, we're just about done here. I'm just going to share screen one more time. Thanks for sticking with us. I know we're a little past the hour. All right, so your next steps. Hopefully you learned something today and it was helpful, but I'm sure you still have questions, or, if you're brand new to this, or maybe you're still skeptical, like, oh, does this really work? Can it really help my situation? I'd encourage you to get the book. So Pete Egoscue, the founder of this whole method, wrote several books. Pain Free is the one to get if you're just starting out, or even if you are been doing this for 20 years. I think Pain Free is a great resource. So, and there was a new edition that came out just in the last couple of years. So you can get the new edition. It's all updated and talks about, kind of the stuff we talked about in the beginning of this slide, just more in depth. But he also has a chapter dedicated to each body part. So you can go straight to the neck chapter, or if you have pain somewhere else, maybe, go to the knee chapter or the ankle chapter, the back section. So, and there's some exercises in there. Again, they're generic. It's not going to be the same as a personalized routine, but they are exercises that have been proven helpful for a lot of people. So, so that's a great place to start. And
I think the most important thing is if you do start with the book and you start doing those exercises and you start getting feedback from your body that they aren't the right ones for you, please email us, contact us right away. That way we can get you going on the right track.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we're here to answer questions, anytime. So feel free to reach out, especially if it's not working for you, because we want to make sure find a solution that does work. So now if you need more guidance, so maybe you're feeling good about this, but you're not sure, how it relates to you or what's going on with your body, you just want a little more one-on-one help or questions, then we're happy to do a quick free posture evaluation with you. That means we'll take your photos, whether you're in the clinic or if you're on Zoom, you can email us pictures, or we can just look at you through the camera and help you see, put those lines on there, just like we did for the examples, and show you what's going on with your posture, and talk about why that's important and what you can do about it. So that's something we're offering everybody for free. So please take advantage of that if you have questions. Janet, raise your hand again. Did you have a question?
Yeah. Well, I've actually got two questions, but they can wait if you wanted to finish your list.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll just finish up here. So the third option, of course, is if you want to work together and really get the benefit of having a trained therapist assist you, getting a program that's specific to your body. That's what we're all about, is it's really customized to your body, your symptoms, your strengths, your weaknesses, and it will change over time. So that's why we have packages, or it's not a one and done kind of deal. Most of the time people have to put in the time to change these patterns that have been there for years. But anyway, if you do want to pursue that, we're offering, just for a limited time, 15% discount, which is more than we usually give, actually. So it's kind of a holiday gift to you, I guess, this month, for 15% off our services. So here's the different prices. You'll notice we have either a 16 session package or an 8 session package is how we bundle it. Prices for existing clients. So if some of you have already been clients before, or current clients, if you've already had a package, your price automatically, you get a discount for any subsequent packages. So that's why the price is lower, but we're giving you a 15%, additional 15% off as well. So those are the rates. Just real quick, kind of what that looks like. The sessions are typically once a week, at least in the beginning phase. They're usually an hour long. It's all one-on-one. First appointment can take a little bit longer, but it's usually an hour one-on-one together. And we're just reassessing your posture, making sure that you're doing your exercises correctly. That's also really important. And then changing the exercises as your body changes. Like we saw in those pictures, your body posture is going to change. Your symptoms are going to change. And if you want to keep progressing, if you want to keep changing, then you have to change what you're doing, right? You can't just do the same thing over and over again and expect different results. So that's why we're changing and evolving the program over time, and eventually getting you to that goal of whether it's running again, or just being able to garden or play with your grandkids without pain or sleep, we take that all into account and help you every step of the way. So, Janet, you had some questions?
Yeah. First is, years ago, I figured out that if I put a pillow under the back part of my seat, then it would help my pelvis be in that more comfortable posture. And I, at the time, was driving the bus quite frequently in my work. And instead of being tired at the end of the day, I felt great. So it made a huge difference for me. But my question related to that now is, as we were sitting down and correcting that little tilt, my go-to was tuck a little pillow on the back half of the seat. Is that cheating, or is that a good idea?
Yeah, well, I guess it depends. It could be both. I think it's a good. You're right. It kind of helps you sit with more of an S curve, right? That's ultimately
Mhm.
it's just
Right.
lumbar. Um, so I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I would say when you're doing the exercises, though, to not use that support, because we want to train the muscles to be able to do that on their own without any help.
So when it's intentional exercise versus just
Yeah,
getting through my day.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you're sitting, if you have to sit a lot, whether it's for your job or anything else, you can probably only sit intentionally like that for not very long, I'm guessing. Like it takes a lot of effort to sit up like that. So you can't expect to sit for 8 to 12 hours a day with perfect posture. So, whenever you start to fatigue and your back starts to get tired sitting like that, then it's totally fine to, rely on lumbar support or rely on the back of your chair. That's fine. But when you're doing the exercises, we don't want to have any assistance necessarily, unless, I'm just speaking generally here. If your therapist tells you otherwise, then that's a different story. But
And my other question is, one of the places that I start feeling discomfort is when I'm working at the computer, I reach my right arm across to do more something. Maybe my mouse is a little more to the side, or actually I'm using a pad on the keyboard, so it's over a little bit. And then like the muscles that come from my neck down into my upper part of my shoulder blade are what start to complain. So I've tried to fix how I'm sitting, but I'm wondering if there's more take on that process, that reaching across kind of thing.
right. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you did the right thing in trying to create a works environment, a stimulus that's more balanced, right? So not having to put your body in an asymmetrical position for too long is always a good idea. So if you can get your mouse, in front of your shoulder and not off to the side, that's a good start. But then the other thing is, just doing your corrective exercises, your menu of your Egoscue exercises to address those imbalances that maybe are in your body. If you are, like Kelly talked about, maybe you have one shoulder that's tighter or sits more forward or higher than the other. And so we want to use exercises to correct that. So whenever you are working, even if you do have to be a little asymmetrical, your body's still going to return back to its ideal position when you're done. And it's not always stuck like that. That's when it becomes a problem, is when you can't get out of that asymmetrical position. It's okay to be asymmetrical sometimes, right? And our life requires that, but as long as we're not stuck there, 24/7. So the exercises will help correct that, but then just, trying to be mindful of it as much as you can. So
Thank you.
let's see, I think I guess I didn't put our contact info there. Let's put it in the chat. If you guys have questions, please reach out, or to schedule your appointment or take advantage of that discount. You just need to let us know in the next 7 days. You don't necessarily have to come in the next 7 days, but at least, secure that discount. Reach out to us. And Kelly's put it there. Great. You can also find us online. Just if you just Google your local clinic, Egoscue Portland or Egoscue Seattle. No, Portland's the only clinic in in the state, but yeah, we work with people all the time on Zoom, and it works great. So that would be the next best thing, I think.
Okay.
Any last questions before we sign off here? Right. Well, thanks for everybody for participating, and we'll be sending out this recording. So I know there were several people who couldn't make it or had to leave early. So look for the email, and yeah, hopefully we'll be seeing some of you soon as well.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Yes, thank you.